Alright you guys, we're on to the hydraulics now in this video. And even though I've built a log splitter from scratch and I modified its rack and pinion for my hydraulic dump on my quad truck, I'll put a link to that video up here. It's kind of interesting. I still have a lot to learn on hydraulics, so this is kind of the gray area for me. Here's the parts I've tracked down so far on a budget. I knew the hydraulics were going to be the most expensive part probably of this build. And luckily I was able to get this hydraulic pump given to me from a friend of mine that does forklift repair. Just had to put a seal in it, $5 for that. Got this orbital valve, steering valve from a friend. He tracked it down from one of his buddies. It's been sitting for 10 years. Let's hope that works. And the same friend, Dave, gave me this cylinder right here. So that was pretty cool. And the guy that gave me the pump, I went and bought some parts for him for pretty cheap. I got a filter housing, two really long lengths of hose. I think they're for the mast on a forklift. So I'll probably cut those down when I get it figured out for the dump bed on my machine. Those will be the lines delivering fluid to the dump bed. Got this thrown in with the package deal. This was not a very desirable cylinder, but maybe I'll do something with it. It's a side shift cylinder, so the rod comes out both ends. This cylinder I might end up using for a little blade, like a snowplow blade for the front. It should be good for that. And these are pretty good. They are a matched cylinder set. They got a little ball. Problem is with these ones, they only have 4.5 inches of throw. I kind of discarded that. I wouldn't use them on this project for the steering. I want to go really simple farm tech. 16-inch cylinder down one side of the frame. I'll go into a little more detail on the build. It would have been really simple. My buddy Dave was really assuring me, like, I think we can engineer something to work for this. So he went home and drew up a bunch of bits and pieces and came up with a solution for it. A little higher risk, because if it doesn't work, I got to tear everything back off and go my low-tech farm tech. 4.5 inches of stroke. I was like, yeah, it's really getting close to the center pins. I think it's only about 4 inches off, but he's done some calculations. Should have about 1,000 foot-pounds of pressure. All right, enough talking here. Let's get over to the dump truck and start building some stuff. To work out the steering here, I got to definitely figure out a way to hook this hydraulic pump up onto here. I just dug up a 9 spline 5/8 coupler online that I can actually adapt to this thing. And I need to drive it, and I have this clutch put on flip-flopped, and I got a pulley here, and I'm going to actually turn this pulley down on my lathe so I can mount it right back in here and stack the clutch in front of it. And then out here we're going to actually run a 1-inch shaft with some pillow block bearings to run the pump off the end of it, and possibly another accessory like an alternator if I want on the motor here. So we're going to get over to the lathe and start boring out the center of this to fit over this shaft. This is the original 1-inch bore with the set screw and keyway, and this is bored out to fit over this 1 3/8 step in the PTO shaft here. There we go. Now I just have to put on the clutch back on here, and I got a little extension shaft for this thing so I can run a bolt back into here. This should be able to drive a little accessory PTO shaft on the side, which will be excellent. Believe it or not, this box of stuff from Surplus Center with shipping and handling was about $260. I knew the hydraulics were going to be expensive, but I got a lot of fittings in here, and I actually used up all my 1-inch keyed shaft. So I ordered another 3 feet of it. I'm sure I'll have it for a long time. Simple little thing like a pressure relief valve for that steering is, this is like a $50 block right here. Some more pillow block bearings to run the pump. Lots of weld-on flanges for doing the hydraulic tank. I need to make return manifold, so I'm going to make that out of some square tubing. Lots of JIC fittings. They're only $2-3 a fitting, but when you have to order 50 parts here, they end up adding up. All right, so for me to get started on this, I kind of got to mock up where the cylinder is going to sit on here, and this is the rough general location on the bottom, really. But everything I built here is matched and mirrored, so I'm just going to mainly get a measurement off of the frame to where this is, just so I can start working on a hanger that will hang this side of it, and then later I'll cut out the parts for this. Dave that figured out all this stuff printed these things out for me. These are some specific measurements and everything, so these are going to actually be eye to eye right across from the Zerk fitting. And over here I got to take into account that they're 17.225 distances apart. Way more engineering involved to make this actually work to get a full 45 degrees swing out of it. I'd be happy at 40 actually. My version was going to be run a ram underneath hanging off the bottom of this. Run an arm out here 1 foot, which would be centered to the frame. Off the back here and have a ram, it would have swung it over. 16-inch ram would have handled the whole swing. So there's some of the stuff my buddy printed out for me. I really appreciate him taking the time to do that. Some more calculations. And looks to me like he grabbed a stack of paper on his printer, and it looks like his wife must have been printing out something on favorite Irish bread. So I got a recipe on making Irish breads as well. Maybe I'll make those later. All right, let's get on to actually cutting some brackets here and hanging this cylinder. Alright you guys, so here's that drawing my friend Dave drew up. And he also programmed some parts on the CNC, and before I take them off I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. So I pulled out the center zerk off the center pin here, and this bolt went into there. And there's a slot here, and when both of these layers of metal here are lined up perfectly in the right orientation, they should be open through the center, and they are. And the lower plate actually has 2 holes in it for the eyelets for the cylinder here. And these come out here. And here's the holes lined up for the back of the cylinders. So I got that cross member all in there now, tack welded. After we take off these little alignment plates, we're actually going to start cutting the locations for the ends of the cylinders here. So after I got this thing put on the ground, I realized one major problem. The rear end was dropped lower. It was all hyenaed out, low in the rear end. These spindles on the rear of this vehicle were so much different than the front spindles. I thought I took it into consideration that I needed to drop these things down, I think another inch or so. Turns out I actually need to come down 2 more inches. Totally frustrating because I felt like I got done with this step like a month ago. But actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut all the spot welds off, modify these brackets, lower them down on the frame 2 inches. I wasn't very happy with the driveline angle, and I've heard from numerous people how it's just going to blow apart, fail. So I'm going to be able to finally just get in here and lower these things down, and I'm going to tilt the rear end at an angle, try to straighten out that driveline so it's not so steep. Something I don't really want to do. I want to move on, but if I don't take care of it now, I'm never going to like the way the project looks. So I'm going to get cutting. I'm not going to bring you guys along on this whole documentation of this. I'm going to bring you back when it's about finished because I don't want to do this no matter what, and I don't really want to take all the painstaking shots to show you guys how I modified it because you've already seen me put the brackets on once. So I'll bring you guys back when it's wrapped up. Got those 2 1/4-inch plates cut out, and I got these cutouts on here to weld them together to kind of really make them into a 1/2-inch plate. So I'm going to tack weld these together. I got some bolts in here just to make sure the holes line up. It's not going to be mounted on the top. It's going to be mounted on the bottom, but this kind of gives you an idea where it's going to sit, but just on the bottom. So we're going to tack weld these together and tack weld on the frame and hope the cylinders fit. All right, let's get welding. So I got that plate welded on there. I got the hydraulics just temporarily held on here. Bring you guys in for a closer view. Next what I need to do is lighten the rear end, take the tires off, re-brace this thing better with this floor jack here so I can swing the back end both directions, make sure everything clears down here, nothing hits, and I got the movement I need. I've had these around for a few weeks and actually just tried to check the sizes right now. I kind of feel like the hydraulics are going to be the gray area for me. I kind of dabbled with them, but not much. These are SAE O-ring and JIC fittings here. And I calculated a bunch of stuff online before I ordered them. They actually fit, which is good. If they wouldn't have fit, practically my whole order of fittings would have been off for most of the hydraulics, so I'm glad that fits. So I got my hydraulic pump here. It's gonna sit something like this on here. And this is gonna sit over here. And these bearings are gonna slide back and forth like that to tension the belt here. So I need to cut out the bracket to hold the pump, some gussets, and some pusher blocks and some stuff to tension the belt easily. So we're gonna go over to the plasma torch and cut out some more brackets. So here's some of those parts I just cut. Here's that pump mounting bracket. It's kind of weird because nothing's centered on here to actually draw that up. Some gussets for that. Here's that plate I showed you earlier. Here's some caps for the pipe here. And these are going to be some little pusher blocks to push this whole assembly back and forth for adjusting. And here's some end caps for this pipe here. I'm going to be making a manifold. This is going to mount on the side. Man, these little adjustable magnets, I find more and more uses for them all the time. I have these plates here. They're going to be flush with these pipes. Drop them on there, tack weld them, good to go. So I wasn't really keeping super close tabs on the specs on this, and it wasn't actually a nice tight fit like I wanted. It's getting late. I'm getting a little sloppy with it. This is that little spline bushing for the hydraulic pump. Instead of having these two parts slide together, I wanted a little more of a press fit. So I just take the little knurling tool here and just knurled it on the lathe a little bit, kind of expand the metal, and now it won't slide onto there at all. So I'll have to put it in the hydraulic press here and press it down, and we'll weld it. Simple little way to kind of mend a little loose tolerances there. I like the way that turned out. We got everything tack welded really nice, got all the brackets and braces on here. And we got this little PTO stub off the front where we can run another pulley in case we want to run an alternator or anything else like that. But yeah, it turned out really well. Now I just need to design the brackets that will actually mount this lower plate to the engine. So we're going to draw those up and cut them out next. the build. So I got a thin sheet of 16th inch metal on here, and I'm going to start cutting a hydraulic reservoir for this machine. So far we still have to cut the end caps, but we're going to start off with this. This is the top. That hole up there is for the filler. This is the eyepiece. The little hole right here is going to be for the level check. Side, bottom, and this is the back side. See, this box here has these tabs on it, and this one has little indents for nice alignment. Everything fits together really good here. I know, we're nearing the end of the video here. I didn't get the hydraulic tank finished. I just put it up on here, mocked it up so you guys can see where it's sitting. Been digging around a lot of information on hydraulics. I know some about them, but it's still kind of a gray area. And the pump was an unknown, so I dug up some information actually just today, and it's out of Europe somewhere, but I think it's 11-liter pump. So it gives me an idea. I know the oil tank's a little on the small side, but I'm going to do a manifold over here with possibly utilize the air blowing off the back of the motor over the pipes for the manifold. Hopefully work as a little bit of an oil cooler. There's still a lot to do. There's been a lot of factors at play. All the stuff that you guys have been paying attention on the news, the virus and all that stuff going on has been kind of changed my work schedule and things that are going on here. Taking care of my family and little things like I order parts. I order them all from Surplus Center. We don't have any good hydraulic shops around. You're digging around on the website trying to find the right bits and pieces. You hit click, you order them, hope you got the right stuff. $250 later, I got most of the fittings I need. Probably another $350 on hoses and a few more bits and pieces on Surplus Center. So that's another week out when I put that order in. It's slow going with the hydraulics. The next video, I hope, fingers crossed, I'll actually have it steering by then. But what I need to do is I need to order a spool valve for the dump bed, and I want to have the hydraulic on there as well to complete the system. So when I get on Surplus Center tonight and put in my next order, it's going to be about a week out. So I'm hoping in the next video it's running and steering, and maybe we can drive it around a little bit. Alright you guys, if you enjoyed the video, please consider hitting the thumbs up. Please leave a comment. I really enjoy reading the comments. I can't always get back to everybody anymore. It's just so many comments that come in, but I try to read them all. So please leave a comment. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing and go back through and check out some of my previous projects. I've done stuff like build a sawmill from scratch. The quad truck's an interesting one. If you're not familiar with that, I built a quad truck. Took an old broken down quad, put a truck bed on it, things like that. And that's the whole reason why I'm building this, is because I found it so useful for the property. I wanted something that was much heavier duty, haul about 1,000 to 1,500 pounds. All right, you guys, until next time, take care. Bye.